Hi, everyone. I'm Paul with Madcap Software, and welcome to part two of the Learning and Development video series. This video, we're going to talk about creating a project in Madcap Flare for e-learning specifically. And their projects, of course, they hold all your files, all your stuff goes in there. So a project could have a lot of stuff. You could have a lot of stuff in there, and there's a lot of features, but you don't have to use everything. So we're going to talk in the next section of this video about project size and quantity. And then we're going to get into Flare and we're going to actually create the project and we're going to take a look around and see what we got and go from there. Now, before we actually open up Flare and create our project, just want to talk real briefly about projects and how many should you have and what should be in them. This is important to figure out in the beginning. It's just going to make it easier because if you change your mind later, it's just less work to do. So you could have, projects could be really small or they could be really big. It's really up to you. And maybe all you're creating are online courses using Flare. And each course could be a separate Flare project if you want, or you could create one Flare project and you could have a bunch of courses in there. You could do that. Or you could have, maybe you're on a team and you guys have multiple projects and each project has multiple courses in them. You can do that as well. In fact, you could be working in a company where maybe there's some content you want to leverage from another department. Maybe it all starts with the technical writers and they're writing content and you're working in the training department and you want to be able to leverage some of their content. Okay, the technical writers could have their project and you could have your project, but Flare has some cool things like a thing called global project linking, where you could point to their project if they give you access to it, and you could draw out some of that stuff, some of that content. So you're actually single sourcing across projects, which is really, really cool. But these are kind of decisions, things that you need to consider ahead of time before you crack this thing open and get going. Maybe you are a technical writer and you have all of your content for help systems in a Flare project. You could create separate projects for courses and you could share content between the projects, or you could just create your courses within your Flare project. I mean, there's lots of ways to do this, lots of ways to approach it, but I would just sit down and think about it. How do I want to work? Now, in my own case, I have one really, really big Flare project where I write about everything. And I don't do a lot of training content or anything like that. Although some of the tutorials that I have, I'll put knowledge checks in there. So I do have that. But most of my content is in one big Flare project. That just works for me. But in your case, maybe it would be easier to split it up into several projects. Just some things to consider before you actually go and start creating your projects. Okay, now let's move on and let's get into Flare, create a project. Okay, so we're ready to get going. Let's switch over to Madcap Flare and let's create a project. So here is Madcap Flare. Now, some of you watching this might be used to Flare. You've worked in it before, you already have it, and you know all about it. Maybe some of you are coming and this is the first time you've seen Flare. This is all new to you. So just real quick, for those of you who might be new, this is what Flare looks like. This is the interface. And you see there's kind of these different segments in here. This area in the middle right now, this start page is showing. And this just really just helps you get going quickly to create a new project. And you're going to see your projects listed in here as you create new ones so you can get to them quickly. And you got these window panes on the side that are going to show, they're going to store your files, your content files, and then you click on the accordion and there's the project organizer and there's different files in there. Ribbons, lots of ribbons across the top in here. that let you do various things, take action. And sometimes you'll get window panes on the right side too. Like right now, you see the dynamic help window, which is built into Flare. And what that does is it's especially useful for new users. So as you click on different parts of the interface, the content will change over here. So if you click on Project Organizer, all right, there's information about that. You can read about it. So at first, this might you might want to really keep this open and be really useful. But then as you get more and more experience, you already know about it. You don't need it, so you can click that and just close it. All right, so start page. Let's go in, and there are different ways to create a new project, but might as well do the easiest thing and just click new project right here in the start page. This is going to bring up a wizard, and you can see that you can provide, I'm going to resize this, and you can provide information about it, give the project a name. I'm just going to keep this default name that was in here, but name it whatever you want. By default, you can, it'll put it in your Documents My Projects folder, but you can put it anywhere you want. Of course, you select your language. Don't worry about the source control thing now. Going to click next. Here is where we want to focus our time and attention right now, because Flare provides you with several project templates that you can choose from. And these are built into Flare, the ones that you're looking at right now. We've got some that are set up for just online output only, some that are set up for online and print, some that are set up for print, a couple down here that are used for the tutorials in the online help. But just because some of these are in the online folder or online and print or print doesn't mean that you're locked in and that you can't, add print stuff or remove it or add online. Yeah, you can do anything you want. It's just what suits you best when you first get going. And you just select these on the left, and the preview changes on the right to show you a little bit about what it looks like, little description. And so you can see most of these, the color scheme actually is the same on most of these, but that's okay. I mean, you go in there and you change that and change the logo later. The big difference is, well, what's the purpose of them and what's the structure? So like side navigation has, your TOC on the left, and the top navigation will have it a menu across the top. It's like that. And then, you get down to print, and there's brochures and product foldouts, things like that. Well, there are a couple of templates that are specifically set up for e-learning. One is under the online folder called eLearning, another under online and print called eLearning and PDF. And these are identical, except this one down here is already set up to create some PDF output. That's the only difference. So if you're thinking, well, I know I'm only going to do online, okay, you can choose this and add PDF stuff later, or you can choose this one. Doesn't matter. Or you can choose one of the other ones, and you can still add e-learning content to it. It doesn't matter. The e-learning and PDF ones are what we call skinless, so they don't have the main navigation on the side or across the top, because what we're doing is we're relying on the navigation that's built into the e-learning toolbar at the bottom of these topics, bottom of these pages, to guide people through so that people, don't get distracted, don't jump around. But you could select one of these that does have a navigation, and, you could do that. There are also these, this link down here says download additional project templates. And if I click on that, that opens up the Madcap Software website to this page, and you scroll down and you can see lots of other templates in here. Look really cool. And we add project templates in here all the time. And so you just find something that looks and seems like what you want, and you can download that and use that instead of one of the built-in templates. But I'm going to go back to Flare, and I'm going to select e-learning and PDF and just click next. And this gives you a description of, these templates are already built in with certain number of output targets in here. And of course, you can remove them or add more, change them, whatever you want. But this just kind of tells you about the the output formats. And so don't worry too much about that because it can all be changed later anyway, once you get into Flare. And then I'm going to click finish and it is going to load. So there you go. And now you see the project organizer's got stuff. The Content Explorer has stuff. And the project is shown right here. So I can easily, if I close it later, I can easily open it by just clicking that thing. There you go. That's how easy it is to create a project. And if we were to generate output, it would work right out of the box. You would see it. But we are going to, in the next section of this video, what we'll do is we'll take a look around at some of these different pieces of the interface just to get you familiar with them. Okay, so we created a project. Let's go back into Flare and let's take a look around at the different parts of the interface and in particular things that you're going to want to know about as you're creating e-learning courses. So as I pointed out before, this is the start page. And the main thing you're going to do there is create new projects and access ones that you already got. So that one's real easy. So the Content Explorer and the Project Organizer, you're going to spend time in there, especially in the Content Explorer. Content Explorer holds content files. Now, Flare is a topic-based authoring system. So it's not like Word where you're just creating one big long document. You think of these maybe as web pages because it's kind of this online mentality at first where, and I'm going to open this up. I've got folders in here and you can create new folders however you want by clicking that button. You could create nested folders just to store things, just to organize them. And in this template, we've got course content in multiple topics in here. And then just decided to create, okay, we'll create another folder for knowledge check topics and another one for test topics, because this particular project template lets you create the course content and knowledge checks and the tests, and you could different variations. You could have one output that's just knowledge checks with your course content, one that's just your course content and your quiz. So it's very versatile. So yeah, these are topics, and when you open up a topic, it will add a tab here to the right over the start page, and you can just kind of switch between things like that. So the XML editor, this is where you're going to do a lot of your work when you're creating content. Project Organizer over on the left, this is for other files. These are project related files. So this is where your target is, the most important file in the Project Organizer, where you're going to actually generate your output using that. But there's other things like TOC and skins, and you're going to get into conditional text. These are things that are important for you. But this is where things are stored. One other thing about the Content Explorer, it's not just for topics, and it's also for we have this folder called resources, and within there's other non-topic files like images and your style sheet and so on. And so you might have some of these, you might have use for some of these and not for others. And actually you can store these anywhere in the Content Explorer that you want, but we recommend this because it helps keep things nice and organized. All right, so XML editor is going to be very important. And as you can see, it looks, like it's very easy to just add content in here and type. It's just sort of like any other word processing program like Word, but there's some cool, unique things about it, like these structure bars on the left. And we have a video about structure bars. Well, what are these? Well, when you're writing in Flare, you're writing actually what you're creating is XHTML content. And it doesn't matter if you don't know what that is. It doesn't matter. But this is what typically is used to create web pages. And in fact, if you come down here, you can switch to another view of the editor, the text editor, and this is the markup. And so this might be scary to some people, but you don't have to use it. it's just going to add stuff in here as you make changes in the XML editor. And these structure bars give you a clue as to the structure going on behind the scenes. And it's pretty easy. Once you look at it, you go, oh yeah, H1 is a heading 1, P is a P tag, and so on and so on. All right, so you're going to be using the XML editor a lot. And how do you get content in here besides just typing? Well, there's a local toolbar with just quick links to things that we think people will use a lot, like the images. You're going to insert an image or a cross-reference, which is a link, different things like that. But of course, you're going to use ribbons too. And probably specifically the insert ribbon to add things like images and tables and, different things like that. Some of these are things that you may never use or rarely use, and some you might use all the time. And of course, as you're creating an e-learning course, you're going to use the e-learning ribbon. This is what you're going to use a lot to be adding your question sections, your e-learning elements. And you might use other ribbons as well, like the table ribbon is a common one, and so on. That's a quick look there at the XML editor and the ribbons. But yeah, the e-learning ribbon is especially important for you as you're creating courses. And another part of the interface can be accessed from here. You can open up question properties, and that will open up in this window pane over here on the right. You can click and drag to expand things, and you'll learn more about that as we go on. But as you add these question sections, this is going to provide a way for you to put certain settings on those question sections, like you can switch between a multiple response question or a multiple choice one using this. You could set it to whether it's a required question or not, things like that. All right. Another part of the interface that you want to get familiar with are TOCs, and they're here in the project organizer. I'm going to open this one up, and you see what they look like. So it's basically just a bunch of links. These are linking to topics over in the Content Explorer. Super easy to add stuff there. You just click and drag it over there and drop it. That's how this was created. And it goes, this is basically the order of your course. You're linking to a topic. Okay, welcome to the course. And then it goes all the way down until you get to your quiz. All right. So you want to understand the TOC because you're going to be working in that. And one of the unique things about this, not only just adding things to it, but when you want a quiz, you are going to be using this test node. And we're going to get into this later, where you use this button to add that. And that signifies, oh, this is going to be a gradable section. This is a quiz. And you can add properties. Again, later when we get into the TOC part, we're going to look more at that. Proxies and skin components. That's what we want to talk about next. So in the output, you're going to see with this course, the navigation at the bottom of the topics, at the bottom of the pages, where it's like next page, a previous page, and here's the progress that you've gotten, that the learner has gone through. Maybe it's page 3 through 16 that they're on. And these are added through something called proxies. And you would add these in template pages. So, oh, wow, what's a template page? Well, a template page, it's actually a very simple concept. And these topics, of course, are going to be unique, where you're adding content that's specifically for one topic, and then the next topic is going to have its own. But sometimes you want something that's going to be the same content, the same elements in all of your topics. And one of those things is this toolbar that's going to run at the bottom. You don't want to insert that at the bottom of every topic. You could, but it's much quicker to go in and open up a template, and you add this thing called a toolbar proxy in there. And we're going to get to that later, but that's important to know about. That is what's going to add that toolbar at the bottom of all your topics. And then on the project organizer, there are skins, which we're going to talk about later too. And there's this e-learning skin, which helps you control the look and feel of that navigation toolbar. And there's another skin component in here called test results. If you want to customize what the results look like when the person gets to the end of the test and it says you passed, and how do you want that to look? If you want, you can use that to control the look of that. You're also going to spend time in your style sheet to control how things look for your content. Like this heading is blue text, the font's larger than this. That's done through styles. So styles are super, super important. In fact, I have a long series of videos just about styles because there's a lot to say. But if you're brand new to Flare, I would recommend that you watch the Getting Started video, because I show you that the two main things that you want to know are how do I apply styles, which can be just as simple as this, selecting a different thing, H2. Now it's an H2 and it has a different look and feel versus an H1. And you can open up the style sheet and how you can change the colors and things like that. So you want to know about using your style sheet. You don't have to become an expert overnight because there's so much to know, but you do want to know about it. And the last thing I want to point out are the targets, which, of course, once again, we are going to talk more about those later in the project organizer. These are the things that create your actual output. And you open these things up, and there's lots of settings, lots of bells and whistles in here, and some are more important. There are some settings that are more important for e-learning, such as this e-learning tab and some things in there. But this is how you're going to actually end up getting your output. That is a really super quick tour of the most important things that you're going to want to know about as you're creating an e-learning course. So that is pretty much going to do it for this video. Now that we have our project, in the next video, we're going to get in and we're going to look at how you create e-learning content.